Good morning, beautiful people of planet Earth and all other interdimensional entities across time, space, dimensionality, this wide cosmos we're told we live in, but some things are illusion, people of Earth. Some things are an unreal, surreal, discomforting reality. Some things are too awful to contemplate. Some things become funny if you live long enough and time heals enough scarified wounds. But anyway, I think I'm cruising a cold after all. A bit snuffly again. Not happy about that. I just got well, for the love of all the gods, and here we go again. Round and round we go, going nowhere. Spinning in infinity. I just wrote some very quirky and unusual and offbeat stuff on Facebook, which will either terrify or amuse all my friends. So I'm not going to share it with you because it was a bit batshit crazy, but it was stream of consciousness right off the tip of my tongue after only 4.5 hours sleep, because I worked till 4:30 a.m. on this fleece. I'll go and get it and show it to you. I wasn't going to, but I've decided I will. I spun it on my wonderful spinning wheel, and I plied it last night. I'm getting a bit better at plying. It's made of a very coarse, very sticky textured, it was clean, but it just had a very grabbing texture to it. Grabbing. Sticky is the only word I can use to describe it. Sheep's wool, there's a bit of it there. Perfect focus, iPhone 16 Pro Max. I'm not paying for you for nothing. And the rest, all these little white fluffy bits, or cream fluffy bits. Oh, that was my tummy making strange noises. There we go. Come on, you can do it. They're all my former cat, my foster cat Sophie, who I kept lovingly for my friend Sally Castle, who very generously paid for their care and their food, and looked after me immensely too. And but the cats and my dog, and then finally Charlie, have all gone on to the happy, frolicking grounds in the sky. And honestly, some days I wish I could join them, but here I am with another cold, so let's not push it too far. I might get my wish one day after 16 feckin' near deaths. So anyway, but I'm very happy with this. I worked on it, as I said, till 4:30. I think I started on it about 8 o'clock in the evening, and I'm exhausted, and I'm a bit hypomanic from the exhaustion. But I made it, I spun it while I was watching, a TV show about the Holocaust. What was it called? Forgotten what it was called now. It's gone right out of my head. Anyway, it was about the Brazilian consulate, a woman, deputy consulate, that was, faking visas and getting Jews out of the country and in Germany into Brazil. It's very interesting. It's based on a true story. I'd never heard of that. All I ever heard of was how the Nazis got airlifted to Argentina and Brazil. Have never heard much about how they actually saved Jews too, the Brazilian government. Well, the government didn't actually, support that, so she kind of did it a bit surreptitiously. Anyway, people like that are what are called in the Holocaust law as righteous Gentiles that went over and above the call of duty to save Jews from the Nazis and from the concentration camps and got them out of there. And amazingly courageous, stoic and determined and heartfelt, soulful people. They're out there, people of Earth, walking amongst us. You wouldn't know because there's so much zombieism and treachery and ugliness, but every now and then you stumble across a truly good person and you're like, it takes your breath away when you realise what you've just met. The closest thing to being angels in human form as you will ever get. So there's my thoughts for the morning, triggered by that story. It was, I'm up to episode 5, I think. And I watched Little Bird about the Native American woman who was finding her way back to her people. And she had been taken by the Canadian government when she was only a 6-year-old child with the rest of her siblings. And she'd been adopted by a Polish Jewish survivor of the Holocaust, and who had lost all her family in the camps. And she'd been raised and converted into Judaism from a young age. So that was also very interesting and upsetting and triggering. The most poignant part was when the Polish adoptive mother said, "You found your people and I will never find mine." It's there was a kind of a piquant bathos and a little bit of envy there, a slight tinge of envy that her adopted daughter was returning to her own, cultural background and language and law and traditions, but she was still, maintained her life as a religious Jew, and I was very pleased to see that, actually. Very pleased, and I fought long and hard to maintain my Jewishness, but now I don't know. I really don't know, people of Earth. I've let it all go, all of it. But I have never let go of God or the gods, because they are part of who I am and my emotional, mental, spiritual, probably even physical makeup. And, it's a bit weird, but it is what it is, people of Earth. Anyway, so I've been watching all these very grueling, emotionally grueling, triggering kind of shows while giving Sophie's leftover fur that I kept from when I used to groom her. It's funny, that was many years ago and I kept it all these years, never actually seriously thinking that one day I would learn how to spin wool, but I must have had that in the back of my mind because I remembered my mother-in-law. She wasn't actually my mother-in-law, but I used to affectionately refer to her as such. Sybil Colvin, Courtney Evans's mother, my one-time serious boyfriend. It was weird, that whole relationship, but never mind. But his mother was a New Zealander like me. She actually came from Christchurch. And she was very kind to me, at least for the few years, 5 years that I was with him. And she was a spinner, spun wool and knitted beautiful jumpers. One time she knitted a beautiful jumper for Courtney in this beautiful pale blue, and she did it with all cable knit, and like Aran style of knitting. It was absolutely exquisite. Do you know what that bastard did? He said, oh, thanks, Mum. It was for his birthday or Christmas or something. I think she gave it to him for his birthday, if I recall correctly. And I was awestruck because she'd spun the wool herself. Well, had she spun the wool for that? No, I think she bought the wool for that. But anyway, it was a very expensive hand-knitted jumper. And I was awestruck because I know how much work goes into knitting, because I knit little fairies and on occasion tea cozies, you know, even little things like that. Oh, got silver dust all over my desk. How did that happen? I'm usually really scrupulous about gathering it all up. How did that end up all over my desk? Did something tip over? It's definitely silver dust. Oh well, I've been working on filing this. This is what I made the other day too. Filing this back so the back's more even, because it was all, one side was thicker than the other. So you can see where I've been working at it. Ironically, the back of it looks like a moon too, and it's the hair on the moon. Anyway, I've got to finish that off. It's not perfect though, so I don't know if I should bother, but oh well, I'll keep it for myself, the imperfect things. We're imperfect in our perfections. Anyway, sorry, I got distracted by all the silver dust. Where was I? Yeah, anyway, she made him this beautiful jumper that, you know, fitted him perfectly. He looked really handsome in it. He was actually very blonde, curly hair, Courtney. He wasn't a handsome man per se, but he had big blue eyes and blonde hair and stocky Scottish physique, because he was, mother was Scottish background, and father was Welsh, but he looked really sort of solid and stocky. And anyway, I don't know what I saw in him actually. Well, those were the Zyprexa and Abilify years, weren't they, when I was stoned like a mullet off my chops on psychotropics, and he was stoned off his chops on copious weed and speed. So we were a very odd couple, very odd couple. But anyway, I mean, I have to laugh now. It's not funny. It's actually not funny, but I've reached the point where it's become comedy. Anyway, his mother made him this beautiful jumper, and he was well, probably still is. I don't know what he does now. Haven't had anything to do with him since, you know, our relationship ended in 2010. He split up with me 6 months after my mother died, you know. Another fucking piss-weak arsehole that kicks you when you're down, you know. You know the type. Anyway, but I kind of had a clue that he was a bit of a fucking sadist and an asshole when he wore his mother's beautiful jumper that she'd hand knitted for him with her arthritic hands, and that she was so proud of and happy and making something nice for her son. He wore it as an engine reconditioner, changing oil under someone's car, or doing something with their block. And I went, you know what, Courtney? What's that, Tanya? I said, you're just like my old man. He used to ruin all his good trousers and, you know, suit jackets and shit, spontaneously combusting and changing oil in cars too, or painting in them, or doing something equally stupid and dishonouring of the actual clothes that were given him. No fucking respect. He just kind of looked at me. Yeah, well. He goes, well, you know, I'm not that fond of my mother anyway. She never knew. She thought he loved her. Sweet, isn't it? I don't have the heart to tell her what an arsehole he really was, but I guess deep down she knew. She knew when she told me that she'd hidden his brass knuckle duster because he told her in a phone call that he was fantasizing about smashing me in my face while I slept beside him on the nights that I slept over. Really, I said, Sybil, really? He's just drugged out of his mind. You can't take anything he says seriously. She said, I took it seriously enough to hide the thing, and I suggest you take extra care. That was my relationship. A man that was supposed to love me, but dreamed of smashing me in the face with a brass knuckle duster that he handmade himself. Motherfucker. And I stayed with him because I was sanguine about it all. So used to abusers and their piss weak, mediocre, lackluster ways. Are we right, people of Earth? So he had to up the ante, and instead of getting his mother to freak me out with threats of hiding brass knuckles, he got that brass monkey, dead shit, fucking twat gobbling neo-Nazi idiot to threaten me with a samurai sword instead. And at that point, that was the point. One of those crucial points in your life when you finally realise that you really are surrounded by fucking idiots, and that not one of them is worthy of you, and that they really are that piss weak that the best thing they could do was get their friends to threaten you with an ornamental sword that was still in its frame, by the way. But there was a moment of absolute crystalline clarity, and I just looked at him and looked at the sword. Really, Skatey, I said? Really? You're going to cut my head off with that sword? I glanced over at Courtney, and he just said, don't do it, Tanya. But Courtney, I said, I'm sober. He's not. You'd be surprised how quickly I can move in a crisis, even though at that time I was 103 kilos. And shunting and munting and shuffling with the psych meds. You'd be surprised how quickly the Mama T can react in a crisis. He begged in that moment, begged for his friend's life. And then I realised that relationship was over. It still did, you know, the flailing of the dead fish for a few months after that. But it was, I lost respect for him that day. A man who can't do his own dirty work. Mummy had to hide the brass knuckles, and his friend had to threaten me for him because he wasn't man enough to say, I don't love you anymore and I want you gone, and I've moved on with a new piece of ass, which he adamantly denied because on some level I think he felt a bit ashamed. But anyway, I know there was a new piece of ass because when I returned to the Matic and leaned it up against his front door, I could hear them all laughing and the laughter of another woman that had quickly replaced me. Was I bothered? Not really. But I couldn't help laughing when I got home at the thought of him opening his front door in this big Matic that did belong to him. I had borrowed it for my gardening. Just would gradually slide into the front entry of his house. He would have seen that as a threat, but it was actually just poetic license. Anyway, What does the mama T always say? Never fuck with the Tanya. I've outlived worse psychopaths than even dear sweet Courtney and his mummy dearest, but I thought it was a really shitty thing that he ruined that beautifully knitted jumper. Like, if he really didn't want it, he could have just given it to one of his friends or some person that was cold in the streets of Brisbane, or helped someone with it. Too fucking selfish to forward think even that. But anyway, the point was to destroy something that she'd made with love. That was the whole point. It's amazing how men seek to destroy the women in their lives that love them for no rhyme or reason other than they can. But anyway, it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful morning, and I'm looking out at my orchids, and my birdie boys are happy that I didn't keep them closed up till nearly midday like I did yesterday. The sun's come out, boys. Want to go in the garden? Yes, Mama T. I'll put them in the garden a bit later when I finish this story, I think. It rained during the night too. So yes, I've been slammed with all these rather traumatic memories lately, and I'm sure it's triggered by some of the TV shows I've been watching and reading these very ambiguous stories. And we're near the end, people of Earth, and I think I'll stop reading for a while and nourish my soul a bit, because it has been a journey we've all been on together, watching me unravel and knit together each day and unravel the next day, knit together the next. What is it? Knit one, purl one, drop a stitch, pick the stitch up, knit it in again, start again, every moment, every day, every fucking breath. But I've been happy in spite of it all, people of Earth. Survival to thrival, I call it. Thriving, but, you know, poetic license. I've been happy, and it's been quiet in the garden, and there's been a peace and a release, of which I'm also happy about. I hadn't realised how suffocated I was starting to feel, and it's never good when the Mama T feels smothered or suffocated or deceived or lied to or betrayed. I function better alone, my hair flying in the breeze with my pussy muff. I'd read out what I wrote to you this morning. I thought it was hilarious. Dark, but hilarious. But I'd have to print it out, and I can't really be bothered. And it was just, you know, the first thoughts that poured through my head like a sieve is when I opened my eyes. It's amazing what comes out of me first thing in the morning now. Manifester, storyteller, memory keeper, even souvenirs from my beautiful Sophie. What shall I make from this, people of Earth? I've got two, what are these called? Bobbins. Socks made 2 full bobbins, and a big hank or skein of wool. I've washed all the skeins that I, had previously worked on last evening, so they're drying in the laundry. And then I can roll them into balls, and yeah, I'm making good progress. Slowly using up all the fleece that takes up so much space, and turning it into balls of wool, and then I'll have to make something with it, won't I? No idea what yet. I'll put a little label on the ones made from Socks and Sophie and Beauregard though, because these are special, because they're sentimental only to me, and you know, I'll just keep them precious for a while till I decide what I can make. It wouldn't make anything much, maybe something to put into weavings, or yes, I haven't made a weaving for about 10 years, 15 years even. Be about 15 years. The last I'll show it to you. The last weaving I made was a bit prescient, actually. So I made her, I think it was 15 years ago now. She was the last one. And a few years after I made her, it's been 10 years since I stopped going to Irish Murphy's because of the constant rape attempts and evil that was going on in there. So, 10 years, February 2015. And when did I befriend Sarah Burt? I think it was after I'd inherited my car. Suddenly I was flavour of the month. They all thought I had lots of money, you know. Something to verminously parasitise off. She wanted my car, actually, that bitch. But anyway, so she came up to me. I was standing in the kebab shop 2 or 3 doors down from Irish Murphy's. And I still remember I was wearing my full-length ball gown length skirt with a corset, and I did look lovely that night. I'd had a lovely night dancing on my little spot that I'd claimed on the corner of the stage near the entrance, the corner entrance to that pub. And she just came up from behind me, and she'd obviously followed me up to the kebab shop, probably intending to get something to eat too at the end of the night, not following me per se. And she befriended me and invited me to join part of her group of friends, and I actually said then and there, my standard patter, because I know humans too well, I said, oh no, I don't belong to any group that would have me as a member. And very seductively and winsomely she turned her head and said, but everyone wants to belong, Tanya. So I kind of fell in love with her, not in a sexual way, but I thought, what a lovely thing to say. I still think it was a lovely thing to say. It's a pity it was disingenuous, you know. She turned rancid in the end, as people often do. But much later, after that friendship ended, I would look up at that tapestry I made. It doesn't look exactly like her, but close enough, with the blazing red hair that she dyed, by the way. But anyway, it did look lovely. She was she had some sweet components to her personality, but she was undermining and sabotaging and vicious too. So there was that. Anyway, I just would look at that tapestry and laugh my ass off. It's like, some things I've made have been a bit precognitive, and I had no idea at the time why I was making them. It's funny, isn't it? Life. People are meant to come into your life, even if it's just for a season or a reason. And well, I learnt to keep firm boundaries after that one. That's for sure. But yes, when she demanded I sell her my car, I thought, fuck off. Get your own inheritance. Bleed someone else dry. I worked hard for that car. That inheritance did not come easily and was a form of torture. Now that car sits like a glorious garden ornament in the front yard. I'm thinking about selling it. Hardly ever use it, actually. But, you know, I hold on to it because freedom of movement, people of Earth. So, anyway, let us continue on with reading. Chapter 23. I was giving Sam his dinner when Joe came home after his interview with my young colleague, way after. He had obviously stopped off somewhere to drink the rest of the afternoon away. How did you find Celeste? I asked him. She's good, but she's 11. Is she, Dad? No, Dad's joking, aren't you? Yes, I'm only joking. She's young, but she's determined. She's very keen. Oh, I thought so, he said. And that was all we said about it until Sam was in bed. Then he took his dinner out of the microwave and ate it standing up while I did the dishes. Anna? The money, the advance for the retirement home? Where did you get it? I told you we got a raise. And a bonus? Yes, that's right. Everyone? Pretty much everyone. Then he slammed his plate down and the food rose and fell, not all of it falling on the plate. What the fuck is going on? He shouted. What's wrong? What are you talking about? Anna, are you going to tell me the truth about anything? I don't understand. What are you talking about? Anna, I spent about 2 hours today with your colleague, the lovely Celeste. She's really going places, right? Joe, she's at least as good as anyone else there. Probably better than some, right? For sure. Then why didn't she get any fucking raise? Why didn't she get a bonus? You asked her about that? Yes, I asked her about that, he said at the top of his voice. She didn't get anything, and he hasn't heard of anyone else there getting anything. She said, it's not even the right time of the year for it. You get your bonuses at the end of the financial year. So are you going to tell me where you now want me to think the money is coming from? I don't know what your game is, but how did you even get to talking to her about that? Well, to be honest, Anna, I had money on my mind when I walked in there. Then Celeste started asking questions about lifestyle. What are my main avenues of expenditure? Well, I thought of the mortgage, of course. But even before that came to mind, right at the forefront, right before my very fucking eyes, was my mother's retirement home. It's funny, isn't it? I walk into my wife's place of business and greeted by this gorgeous kid with hair and a cleavage you could build a country estate in, and all I can focus on is my dear mother's retirement home. Why? Because not long before my appointment, I got a call from them. I know. Is she all right? The check bounced. Sam was standing quietly in the kitchen doorway. His pyjama bottoms were wet. My check had bounced. My father must have stopped his. Joe, even on the verge of an alcohol-induced stupor as he frequently was then, was still sometimes able to cross-examine me to within an inch of my life. He had caught me lying about where the $20,000 for the retirement home was supposed to be coming from. He pressed me for the truth, and the truth was that I wasn't so good at thinking on my feet. At first, without it making any sense, he suspected that Simon was somehow meant to have come up with the money, but hadn't. The trial was days away. Joe would be called yet again to give his version of events, and he was particularly Simon conscious. It didn't take me long to convince him it had nothing to do with Simon. Joe didn't know where the money was supposed to be coming from, and he didn't know why his son was picked up from school one day by my ex-boyfriend of a decade earlier. He was just attributing the things he couldn't explain to a single cause. Joe was using Occam's razor, Simon's weapon of choice. But if the money wasn't coming from Simon, who was it supposed to be coming from? I wasn't fast enough. I panicked and grasped at the truth yet again. I must remember to stop doing that. There's nothing sinister in it, Joe. Then tell me. I got the money from my father. Anna, don't bullshit a bullshitter. Your father wanted me to beg him for it. He wouldn't have given you a bean till I did, and maybe not even then. Well, I did the begging for you, Joe, and he lent me 100,000 beans. So why did the check bounce? He must have. He's been at me for days wanting to know why you still hadn't been to see him. The only thing I could think of telling him was that you were embarrassed about me not being on the title. When I told him that, he went berserk. He must have stopped the check he'd given me. You idiot, Anna. He'll hold that against me forever. That jumped up little... Watch it, Joe. I'm one of them too. So is your son. Well, you shouldn't have fucking gone to him for help. Joe, I tried everything else. He was our last resort. You tried everything else? What the fuck does that mean? What had you tried? Lots of things. Just take it from me, Joe. I tried everybody else. Who else had you tried? Joe, I even tried Sheer. What? You asked Donald Shear? Are you telling me you asked Donald Shear? Yes. You asked Donald Shear? Are you out of your mind? Think about it, Joe. After all the money you've made for him and his wife, the ungrateful bastard pulls out of an attempt by you to make him still more, and you lose your job and our house on account of it. Why shouldn't I ask him for help? How did you even get through to him? He wouldn't take my calls. He wouldn't take mine either. Anna, what did you do? I went to his house. You went to his house? Yes. Jesus, Anna, uninvited? Joe, what did I have to lose? My reputation? Oh, come on, Joe. What happened? I saw him. Oh, fuck. I told him what had happened to you. He would have known that. I told him about the house, how we could lose the house. Oh, Jesus, Anna, you've humiliated me. I spent years, literally years, cultivating that relationship. And in one visit, Joe, listen to yourself. He sold you out. And you're still worried about? Anna, there was nothing personal in what he did. It was business. He had to do it. I can't believe it. My wife goes to this man and airs our dirty laundry. Joe, you said you were finished. And you were primed to believe me for perhaps the first time since we got married. Joe, do you really think? What did he say? Well, he heard me out and he said you were a good man and that he liked working with you. And really? He said that? Yep. He said that, and that he was sorry that things had turned out the way they had. I told him we were going to lose the house, and he said he was sure that wouldn't happen, that you would be back on top again very soon. He had no doubt about that, but there was nothing he could do. You begged him. Oh, Jesus. You begged him? Joe, I didn't. You humiliated me for nothing, more than nothing. This is going to cost more than 100,000. I already had ideas to put to him. You didn't know that. He would have backed me if you hadn't made me look pathetic to him. They hate losers. You never beg them. No, you don't, people of Earth. You hold your head high, even as you crash and burn into the ultimate deception and declension. WEF. You will own nothing. You'll be happy in your garden and your sacred space. We even will. With your sick, perverted, twisted former friends and no doubt friends you haven't met yet. In a zombie apocalypse where everyone is the equivalent of dead people walking, but they have no idea because they're still in denial. But the Mamati is not. Second generation survivor of people who lived through the Holocaust and Nazi Germany, makes us aware. Who would have thought that all that intergenerational trauma and all those constant sexual harassment and rape threats growing up with that survivor of Middle Baldora, prepared me for these times, to stand in my own authority and integrity and continuously say no, and occasionally, oh well, maybe, baby, see me outside. But you won't be seeing me, because I don't deal with lackluster, piss-weak, bloodless curs. I can't abide them, because they really are the real losers, not me. I fought every day in every way for my happiness, and it didn't come at your expense. It came at mine. Houses, businesses, adult daughters, former friends gone rancid, wannabe lovers and suitors chasing me up and down stairs like a besotted lovesick puppy turned rancid. It's quite enough already. On we go and on we go. You never beg them. If someone really wants to be in your life, they'll show up and keep showing up and be constant and prove it and be authentic and sincere. And they'll love you. They'll love you no matter what, no matter who, forever and a day, because they know what it cost you just simply to still be alive, weaving pussy fur into wool. Thanks, Sybil, who put that into motion. My mother's been dead. Next year will be 16 years, so 20 years ago, Sybil planted that seed, and my beautiful Belinda Daniel was the teacher that put this into actuality. Thank you, Belinda and Bill, for the spinning wheel and for teaching me how to use it. I'm really enjoying working with it. You know, I don't know what I'm going to do with all this wool. I really don't need all that much wool, to be honest. But it's pleasurable to make things from scratch and to see the process and to go through the whole process to reach the finished product, which this still has to be put on a niddy noddy and turned into a skein and then washed and then balled up. But you know, when you're seeing through each step into completion, it's very, very satisfying and grounding and kind of edifying to step back and go, I made that with my bare hands, and have a feeling of success and accomplishment, and also the meditative quality, watching these quite triggering TV shows last night, but meditatively working simultaneously on the fleece. Some of my best meditations happen when I'm in the zone, working on a creative outlet like my mad moshing, people of Earth, when I mosh myself so hard into exhaustion that I literally leave my body and fly around the club. And I miss that. I do miss that. And I miss the love and the friendship that Scott and I shared for a time. And I miss my daughters. I miss the life I could have had if I hadn't been so utterly, treacherously broken. And I'm slowly building it, doing zany, crazy things like spinning wool and building another kind of a life. And one day it might even work out for me. I might find a real love one day. But Be'ezrat Hashem, by the will of God. Anyway, I don't know why I'm suddenly out of the blue slammed with grief over Scott today. I mean, he never followed through with anything. We weren't lovers in any true sense, and it was just some game running through his mind and a bit of a fantasy running through mine, and I don't know what that's about, people of Earth. So we'll shuck it off and shunt it off like the typewriter platen, you know, the old school ones that used to go ding, and take a deep breath and begin again, a new day. Very good at that. Been doing it 16 times after 16 near deaths. But probably need to go out somewhere too. I haven't been anywhere for a week. It's the car needs a run, and I need to not be trapped in my own little tiny little home and garden here. It's not that tiny, but after a while it starts to feel like an open air prison if you don't go out. It's good to go out, do things. My little birdie boys are so quiet. The sun's really out now. You want to go in the garden, my handsome boys? You do? Yes, they're waiting patiently. Right, let's just complete chapter 23. Where were we? You never beg them. You've got to offer them something they want. Jesus, what on earth made you think he would help you? Why would he do anything for you? He owed you, Joe. I thought it was worth trying. Well, it wasn't, was it? That's why I went to my father. I had no one else to turn to. And he let you down too. Yes, he let me down too. Chapter 24. Sam was wetting his bed every night and waking. The trial started. Joe was due to give his evidence ahead of me. He might well have been drinking the morning he testified. I'd gone to work, but it wouldn't have surprised me. I thought it all the more likely after he'd precipitated a mistrial and the discharge of the jury by his mention of Carlo, Simon's missing student, which the judge deemed irrelevant or overly prejudicial or something. Everything was going to have to start again. Without telling Joe, I went to see someone from the bank that held the mortgage over our home. I explained the situation. He was sympathetic, but ultimately he only allowed us a further reduction in repayments for 4 months, after which, if we did not resume repayment at the original rate, the bank would be forced to sell the house. It's like swimming in a pool of piranhas. They really do eat you from the ankles up. Filthy verminous bastards. Ask me how I know. Joe, I kind of need to get a loan actually. That's why I'm thinking about selling my car. Get a loan and buy a rolling machine, which run to about 5,000 or 6,000 for a good one. Don't even think my car's worth 5,000 or 6,000 now, but it runs through my mind, you know. But then I have to remember that no one bought my jewellery when I was running to the markets, trying my best, so waste of time and money and emotional, mental resources. So to go into debt for 5,000 or 6,000 to buy a rolling machine to roll down silver and potentially gold is a bit absurdist, because you know, I'm a hobbyist. It's not like I can turn it into a business. So, but I don't know, that's my fantasy, buying a rolling machine and improving on my skills. And I get these mad ideas and then I talk myself down, people of Earth. I'm used to being talked down to, and on top of it I have to talk myself down. But I have to be pragmatic. I really, in these weird dark times, really need to try and stay debt free as much as possible and only buy what is most needed, and certainly not run up debts of $5,000 or $6,000, because that's a tad risky. But anyway, most people earn that in a week, and I'm struggling with the idea of a loan for that much money. I should get over myself. I really should. Live a bit more dangerously. But I know how the Piranha Alley performs when the chips go down, and how they stab you fore and aft while you're struggling just to keep your head barely above water, barely breathing, with your 2 little children being threatened of rape and mutilation on a daily basis, while Logan police sat back and thought it was funny. Cost me my adult daughter's love. They cost me dear. Anyway, have to take a new breath and let it go. No good holding on to that evil and very badly lived experiences. Gotta let it go, let it go. Frozen in time and memory, crystalline. Can hold it up like a snow globe, give it a shake, look at it again, shrug your shoulders, put it back down, and pretend it's all okay, people of Earth. But it was never okay. Not even 15 years, 30 years all told of therapy could make any of that okay. It will never be okay. I've got to live with it till the day I die, what I was put through by the piranhas and the grey wolves and the false lovers. The worst of all, because they inspired hope and joy and bliss and delight and enlivening in my meridians I hadn't seen for many years. Well, that was kind of sweet, wasn't it? Blow life into the old girl and send her on her way. They never met anyone quite like me, though. Someone with courage and honour and integrity and truth, even with my Jack Daniels swilling and cussing ways. I've got more ethics than most people I know, and that's because I know what happens when people don't treat you with genuine love and care and respect. I'm the end state product of all of that, all of it. But here, slap you on the shoulder and hand you a cigar. Santa Muerte knows best. She comes for us all in the end, baby girls and baby boys. blessed be to the circle of life. La vida loca. I don't live la vida loca anymore. I live la vida sublime. Joe was visiting my office for regular meetings with Celeste. It nauseated me. The trial was due to start again when Joe finally put the only thing he owned outright, his car, on the market. The money would go to pay for his mother's accommodation at the retirement home. It was around this time that I again heard from Dr. Alex Klima. There's a lot of keeps are here, I can hear them. Alex, you know I could report you to the judge and to your professional association. You really do try my patience, you know. I could say you tried one of mine. You wouldn't though, would you? It wouldn't be worthy of you. Listen, since you're harassing me, can I get your professional opinion? Of course. This doesn't mean I owe you anything, all right? You don't owe me anything. It's about Sam. To be honest, I'm worried about him. All right, my darlings, I'll bring you food soon, all right? He's leaning forward, listening to me, twittering away. He's wetting his bed. He's crying. I'm happy to talk to you about him, but at least until the trial is over, I think it might be better if you talk to someone else. Why? Are you going to say it's my fault? Oh, Anna, we always say it's the mother's fault. You know that. Well, that's a relief. I thought sometimes it's the ex-girlfriend's fault. Seriously, Anna, if you're really concerned... Oh, darling, he's right here. All right, one moment. I'm in service to the birds. Have you noticed? Well, they treat me better than most humans, just saying. Seriously, Anna, if you're really concerned, I could give you names of some colleagues who specialise in children. I thought you specialised in children. Is this making you feel better? Isn't that your job? Yes, I am supposed to make somebody feel better. It happened once. I remember it well. I'll be back. I'm just going to give them their food. Yeah, the lorikeets are here, boys. The lorikeets. Hello? Are you hungry? You came to see the mama tea. You're asking for tribute. Alright. What are we going to do when you eat all the food, Watcher? Mama will have to buy some more, won't she? She'll be buying some more for the greedy birdie. Right, don't fly away. Here it comes. It's coming. Alright, there we go. The bloody turkey is here, so you know what that means. Good boy. Happy boy now. Are you a happy boy? outside, boys. We'll go in the garden after we finish this story. It's too beautiful to not enjoy. Life is meant to be enjoyed every moment, every opportunity we can get. Celebrate life, l'chaim. Right, my little baby boy, he's not a baby, but he's out there. You eating your food, Mr. Lorikeet? He's very happy. It's so cute how they ask though. He sits up on the tree. Asks for food now. I don't know where his mate went. She flew off. She can't be hungry. It's only him that's hungry. Oh well. There you go, people of Earth. Right, where were we? Dr. Klima says, yes, I'm supposed to make somebody feel better. It happened once. I remember it well. Now you are trying to make me feel sorry for you so that I'll do or say something for your friend, Alex. Things have been terrible for me. I'm not going to visit him again. Please don't ask me for anything because, Anna, I didn't call to ask you for anything. I called to tell you something for what it's worth. It's a sign of something, an altruism bordering on mental illness, misguided love maybe. Call it what you will. What are you talking about? Sam, what about him? I don't know why it took this long to come out, but Simon's lawyer only now found out. She didn't find out. I told her about Simon rescuing Sam from the swimming pool. That again. You still haven't asked Sam? No, it doesn't make any sense. There's already too much craziness going on around him. Well, Gina Sirkin, Simon's barrister, wants to call Sam as a witness. No way, you can't, you fucking bastard. Is this blackmail? Hold on. Firstly, it's not up to me. Who's it up to? Simon. Then he's evil. Oh, you're both here now. That's lovely. This is worse than taking him in the first place. Anna, I'm calling to tell you that Simon won't permit Gina to call Sam as a witness. I'm meant to be grateful for this, I suppose. You should be. Calling Sam to give evidence about the swimming pool incident would greatly increase Simon's chances of acquittal. Simon made it up. Anna, talk to your son. Ask him. He'll remember. Ask him about the time the gardener fished him out of the swimming pool. He was very shaken. He won't have forgotten it. Then ask him if this was the same man who collected him from school that day, who gave him chocolate milk and then let him play with his dog. Ask him. This time, Joe managed to give his evidence without aborting the trial. I wonder who's looking after Simon's dog while he's in prison. Poor animals. They're the ones that always suffer, don't they? It's awful. This time, Joe managed to give his evidence without aborting the trial. It wasn't a matter of either of us learning from our mistakes. The mistakes we could make were by no means limited to those we had already made. He felt better having given his evidence, and now, he said, he was free to go to court every day and sit, as he put it, in the audience so the jury could see the stolen boy's father. The night before I was due to give my evidence, I dreamed that I had to go to visit Joe's brother, Roger, again. In the dream, I walked in as I had before, with the smell of the place sickening me. I kept having to walk around looking for Roger, but I couldn't find him anywhere. I turned to see one of the patients, the one who was smoking, rubbing him against the back of an empty chair, and I wanted to look away, to walk away, but I felt obliged not to, however much I wanted to run like hell out of there. Before I could leave in good conscience, I had genuinely to try as hard as I could to find Roger. So despite my repulsion, I walked up to and then in front of the man. He said nothing, but continued rubbing himself. Up close, I saw him smile at me. It was Michael Gardner rubbing himself, and the chair in front of him, which had appeared empty from the back, had Sam sitting in it, swinging his legs as he sometimes did in Joe's mother's kitchen. I raced over to hug him to take him away. He didn't appear distressed at all, but he looked up at me and said, "Where's Mum?" "Yeah, but where's Mum?" I woke up with my heart pounding, got out of bed and rushed into Sam's room and just stood there till I calmed down. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. I wasn't due to give evidence till midday at the earliest. It was school holiday time, and I drove Sam to my parents' house. My mother came to the door when she heard the car pull up. I had finally taken Dr. Klemer's advice. I had asked him, "Sam, you never had an accident in the pool, have you?" No, I didn't think so. I haven't, really I haven't." "I believe you, Sam," I said, giving him a big hug. I didn't want to release him. "I always go before I get in the pool." "What?" "Say that again, sweetie. What did you say?" "I don't ever do it in the pool anymore." "Sammy, sweetie, I want to ask you a question, and I want you to have a good hard think before you answer. It's important, but you won't be in any trouble whatever the answer is, okay?" "Okay." You know how you're not supposed to go into the pool without an adult watching? I don't. I really don't, Mum." "I know you don't, sweetie, but think hard and tell me, did you ever fall in by mistake?" "Yep." "You did? It was a hot day, but it was an accident. What happened?" "My ball fell into the pool. I tried to make it float back by paddling the water, and I fell in my school clothes." "What happened then?" "I was scared. I swallowed all this water, and I was out of breath, and I was scared." "What happened then?" "He came into the pool and got me out and got my breath back." "Who did?" "The gardener. It wasn't my fault because the ball—" "Sam, was that man, the gardener, the same man who picked you up from school the day Dad was late?" "Yes. He has a dog, Mum. We played with his dog. Can we get a dog like the gardener's dog? He was middle-sized and he was grey. Can we get one, maybe?" "Maybe." My mother came to the door when she heard the car pull up. I took Sam to the door and she hugged him the same way I did, putting one hand at the back of his head and squeezing her other arm around him. It was the first time I had noticed that we both did this. For all that she couldn't say, to me anyway, and probably to Sophie, as a grandmother she was completely unrestrained. I'd given him a devoted grandmother. Wasn't he a lucky little boy to have a genuinely devoted grandmother, unlike my poor children? Dear Goddess. Well, there's nothing I could have ever have done about that. Nothing I can change either. Would he remember his times with her? Grandmothers don't get much of a press these days. Perhaps they never did. Even the grandmother of God, Saint Anne, didn't get a mention in the Bible proper. She doesn't turn up till an unreliable 2nd century document, and even then, once she's given birth to Our Lady, she vanishes right out of the Apocrypha, a grandmother for eternity and the patron saint of Christian mothers. It's a bit ironic, isn't it? Well, you still here, my little handsome boys? Mind you, I had my doubts about St. Anne from the time I learned that my aunt and namesake, my father's late older sister, had died in Italy from complications in childbirth, which I intuited from the way it was barely discussed in my childhood, was tinged with shame. If Saint Anne could let Zia Anna down, then any saint can let you down. And if the saints could let you down, who couldn't? Saint Eligius, the patron saint of jewelers, must have been distracted, or else, I'm Jewish, don't worry, I was just pondering that thought, just pondering it. The only saint I call upon is Saint Anthony, to find lost jewellery. Still haven't found my beautiful ring, though I'm livid. I'll have to buy another one, but that ring and I went through a lot together. An entire brawl in the Brooklyn Standard when I finally snapped after hours of harassment. What else did it go through with me? Lots of cool stuff. I miss that ring. It was emblematic of my coming into my own power and strength and healing. So fuck it, I'll buy another one, another antiques. It was an asparagus or nut serving spoon. I'll buy another one and I'll remake it. I've just been hoping that it'll turn up somewhere in my garden. It might still, I mustn't give up. I've had things returned to me in mysterious ways before, quite mysterious. Sorry, I'll go back to the Saint Eligius or Eligius, the patron saint of jewelers, Must have been distracted or else unable to intervene at the suburban jewellery store I had for years been taking my bracelet to for repairs. A board had replaced a plate glass window. I was on my way home to change for court when I saw it. With time to kill before midday, I thought I'd stop. I'd been meaning to go there anyway. The shop was empty but for the old man, as it always was. "Mr. Leibowitz," I said, as he greeted me with his smile. "Were you burgled?" "The police say burglary, but I don't know. It doesn't feel like burglary in the air." He would know, as a Holocaust survivor. You get a distinct vibe for that. "What do you mean?" "The window was smashed, but nothing was taken. What kind of burglar does that?" "Maybe the alarm scared them away." "Maybe, but I don't think so. I think in the air sometimes I can smell it." "What?" "Europe. Europe in the 30s. "You've come about your favourite bracelet, yes? But you're wearing it." "No, I didn't come about the bracelet, but to ask about the window." "That is very kind of you. Your bracelet, it is well. It's like family. It was born here, and now it brings your little boy here, and while it's, how can I put it? It's not the most expensive piece ever to come through here. It is probably the most cared about. I do remember. It has a story to it that I don't really know, but apart from the man who came to pick it up not long ago, there was also the much younger man who had himself aged. He came in asking about your bracelet, the man who had bought it for you all those years back." "You remember him? How can you possibly remember him after all that time?" "He was a memorable fellow. He came in all those years wanting to buy a silver bracelet for his girlfriend. He looked at all the silver bracelets I had, but he was a student and didn't have much money, and it saddened him. We got talking about his girlfriend. The boy was Miss Sugar for her, for you. He saw the number on my arm, and we talked for a couple of hours about the war, politics, history, all sorts of things. He was a nice boy. At the end of it, I told him I would make him a silver bracelet, design it myself, and let him have it cheap. This was how your bracelet was born. That is why I don't forget him." What a sweet, kind man to do that for that young boy, that young man. So sweet. "And you've been losing money on it ever since. But you keep coming back, and sometimes with your son, and you never charge. It's not his son, is it? Ah, well, it's none of my business, but, as I said, everybody loves that bracelet." "I do." "And so did the other man, the man who picked it up recently." "Oh, he did he? Look after your boy," the jeweller called out to me as I left the jewellery store. Sounds like he never had children or grandchildren either. Another one robbed by fate, by the machinery of evil beyond his own control. Any mortal ken, people of Earth. I still remember in Temple Sinai in Ghuznee Street, Wellington, how it became a kind of a tradition. This was before I migrated here to Brisbane, that at the end of each service, before we had our kiddush, kind of afternoon tea, that blessing over wine and bread, and then afternoon tea, that people would line up for kisses from me, which was a bit weird and astonishing. But my friends Kit and Joe, Catherine and Joe Harris, actually started it. They had their grandchildren been born yet? Yes, I think they already had some grandchildren. But they just loved me for some reason that makes no sense, except that Kit told me that her maiden name was Phillips too. Therefore we were family. Sweet, isn't it? I was the wrong Phillipses, but she didn't care about that. She loved me no matter what, no matter who. Anyway, they started this tradition at the end of the service. Everyone kisses and hugs each other, and it's kind of harmless, you know. But the next thing I know, there'd be a whole queue of elderly people all lined up, looking at me hopeful like this, with such love and adoration. I don't understand it, except I was very young when I converted to Judaism, 19 years old, and I'd been going to that temple since I was 17. So they just, somewhere along the way, they just all fell in love with me, and as I say, I have no idea why. They even made my mother welcome in that temple, knowing that she was German. It was never a problem, never. Not until I came to Brisbane did I get falsely slandered and accused of being a Nazi because of my German mother. But that was an evil, envious, rotten woman, and she got into the ear like the worm tongue, like the evil, putrescent fucking whore of Babylon she really was. Told everyone, and not just Brisbane, but the Gold Coast and the Sunshine Coast, as far down as Byron, that I was a Nazi. Can you imagine that? Beyond evil it was. But in Temple Sinai, my mother came with me regularly to services and was accepted quite happily. The irony is, I actually think my mother had Jewish ancestry, but because her mother, Eva Meyer, was born in the charity hospital, illegitimate, no father was ever put on the birth certificate, but I suspect that her father had been Jewish. But of course, if it had been on the birth certificate, my grandmother Eva and my mother would have been put in a concentration camp and likely would have perished there, even though they had no idea that they were Jewish at all. But I can't get documentary proof of it, documentation or proof of it, because quite clearly on my grandmother's birth certificate, it says Charity Hospital in Berlin and Charlottenburg, which was where unmarried young mothers were sent to pay off their confinement by acting as, cleaners and servants at the hospital. So whatever happened to my great-grandmother, Augusta Cassel, I can only guess at, but it can't have been good, people of Earth, to have brought forth her firstborn in such ignominious and difficult and challenging and impoverishing and cruel ways. So there is that. But anyway, where were we? Ah, yes. People queuing up for kisses from me. So there was a few people in that temple who were Holocaust survivors specifically of Auschwitz, because yes, they had the tattoo on their arm, and that's how you know someone's been to Auschwitz. I'm not sure if tattoos were done in other concentration camps. I can't remember, but specifically Auschwitz specialised in that ignominy. Anyway, there was an elderly couple, already elderly even in those days, and when I was 19, it was 1984, the year I got married. The month after I got married, 1 month and 8 days after my 19th birthday. Seeking safety and family and community and a life where I'm loved and respected, which I did have for a time in Temple Sinai in Wellington, New Zealand. And this elderly couple, they were so sweet. They were both very short, and if I remember correctly, so many years ago, 41 years ago, but if I remember correctly, they were Czechoslovakian Jews that had survived Auschwitz. I don't know how they survived. I didn't get their whole story. I wish I had now. But the wife had been experimented on by Dr. Mengele, and as a consequence of that, she was unable to have children. So here they were, elderly, no children, no grandchildren, and they would see me, you know, get frequently called up to read the Torah blessings before and after the Torah portion of that particular Shabbat. And they just loved me, and I think they could see the love I felt for Judaism. I really did love it, and I really was sincere and heartfelt and trying to build a life for myself where I was safe and where I belonged. Ultimately, it never happened, but I worked hard at that. I put a lot of effort into that over 30 years. Now I belong to the birdies. And that, believe it or not, is possibly a greatest honour of all. My little chickadees. Anyway, so they would all line up, and Kit and Joe, mischievously grinning at me, would be at the front of the queue, and Joe would, I still laugh about it to this day, they were so cute, all of them. He would pucker his lips in these big, exaggerated, kissy faces, and he'd go like this. Where's my kiss? Where's my Shabbos kiss, Tanya? And I'd be like, oh, Joe, you're so naughty. And Kit would laugh and laugh, and she'd mock slap him one. And she'd say, he really is, he really is. We love you so much. I might be naughty too. And I was like, you can't possibly be naughty, Kit. And we would just stir each other up like that. And he'd be like, enough talking, I'm waiting for my kiss. And he'd do this. And because I was very young and a bit silly and didn't really think any harm in it, I would actually kiss them on the lips, just a little. Although you're supposed to only kiss on people's cheeks, people are there. But they were just so happy about that little kiss from the Tanya. It was so strange, but so sweet. So I'd give them their little kiss, and then they'd be like, oh, we're so happy. You've made our Shabbat. And then everyone would just join in. Before I knew it, there would be a line of about 20 or 30, mostly elderly people, although some of them were getting a bit young. When it got to the younger men, bear in mind I was married, so that I'd be like, not you too. No, it's a Shabbos tradition now. All right, you get it on the cheek though. Why is that? You're single and I'm married. It didn't bother you with the older people. There's a kind of a distinction there. Anyway, they laughed. They all laughed. They all thought it was delightful. Anyway, this elderly Czechoslovakian couple who had tragically been denied their progeny by forces beyond any mortal ken or control, an evil beyond worlds, the fallout of that still leaching out intergenerationally, would stand there very shyly and coyly. They weren't quite as cheeky as Joe Harris and Kit, because, you know, I was closer friends to Kit and Joe. But they would just shyly look at me, and I'd be like, and would you like your Shabbos kiss too? Oh yes, please. And I would give them their little kiss, and they would just look at me with such love. And honestly, over time, I think after I gave birth to Crystal, you know, I don't know how that actually stopped, but it just sort of gently subsided, almost as a mark of honour that they recognised that I wasn't a young girl or a young bride anymore, but now I was a mother, so now I got to be taken a little bit more seriously. And the kisses and the lineups for the kisses all kind of stopped. But they would still look at me, that couple, and I would nod, and I would still go to them and take their hand, and the tears would well up in their eyes of joy and delight. They were so happy. I was a proxy grandchild that they would never have had, and they took delight in it. There was another woman, her name was Irene McKellar, I think. She'd married the man who'd liberated her from Auschwitz. And she actually kidnapped Crystal as a newborn one time. And Crystal was only a few weeks old. I left her in a little bassinet, you know, beside her while I got called up to the bema, the pulpit, for the Torah portion. And halfway through saying, you know, the blessings before the Torah portion, she got up and walked out with Crystal in her arms. And the look on my face, I was just horrified, because I didn't know her enough to trust her completely with my newborn. She too had never had a baby or grandchildren. Another woman robbed of her progeny. And everyone in the temple saw my blood run cold, and we'd go pale and pause and then keep praying, finishing off the blessing. And I stood there through the whole Torah portion, which happened to be quite a long one that day. I felt like I was up there for an eternity. And then, you know, the blessing after, I intoned, and then she gradually came back with Crystal, and she could see the look of horror in my face. And then at the end of the service, she said, Shabbat Shalom. But why didn't you trust me with your baby? I saw the look in your face. I said, Irene, a mother of a newborn trusts no one with her babies. Please forgive me. You must understand. Oh, I didn't realise, she said. I'm sorry, I was a bit impetuous. But her eyes are so blue like real crystals, and it was such a sunshiny day. I felt I had to take her outside with me. Just look into her face. Please forgive me. And I nodded. That baby was so loved and shared with people who had no progeny to look forward to through no fault of their own. And now she's shared with the world because she's actually a very talented actor, and I gave her out to the whole world, and the whole world gets to see her talent. And it is what it is, people of Earth. While I've been telling that story, Turkey's taking all the lorikeet mix. Hey you, what are you doing? Why are you like this? You just do it just for sheer mischief. Oh, you know what? I don't care. The lorikeets have had their fill. Let them eat. Let them eat, let them eat. At home, Joe surprised me with a reprise of his assertion that there had been no work conference that fateful weekend. It was a lie, Anna. I happened to know there was no conference. You were going away with Simon, weren't you? You're not on about that again, are you? If Simon and I were planning to go away together for a dirty weekend, why would he go and kidnap Sam? It doesn't make sense. Don't you see that? Joe was silent. It had finally sunk in. I couldn't have been going away with Simon. Joe filled the electric kettle and switched it on. He stood there waiting for it to boil. He makes loud snapping noises of it. Is that good, Turkey? While I'm alive, we will all eat, drink and be merry forever and a day, maybe until eternity, because why not, people of Earth? We've been through worse. We've experienced worse. We've loved ourselves and others through worse. Joe was silent. It had finally sunk in. I couldn't have been going away with Simon. Joe filled the electric kettle and switched it on. He stood there waiting for it to boil. He looked across at me. Oh, dear goddess. It's Buchanan, isn't it? He was getting close. As I sat at the dressing table in front of a woman and a man which the wedding photographer had promised would enable them to forever joyfully recapture the day, and looked in the mirror at a likeness of that woman preparing to go to court, I knew he was getting the picture, indistinct though it was. My unintended dismemberment of him was complete. Chapter 25. I drove, parked the car, survived the onslaught of photographers outside the court, and swore on the Bible, all as if in a dream. Dutifully I repeated my story at Mr. Henshaw's request. I might have sounded too practised, but at least it was over. I'm laughing how noisy he eats. What can he do? He's a big long beak and it's a porcelain, bowl. The lorikeets don't make that much noise though, do they? Smaller beaks. He's really enjoying that. You're really enjoying that, aren't you, boy chick? Are you a happy turkey? A happy, happy boy? Sorry. I repeated my story at Dr. Henshaw's request. I might have sounded too practised, but at least it was over. I was exhausted. Oh, darling girl. All I had to do now was to get through Gina Sirkin's cross-examination and live the rest of my life with the consequences. She asked all the questions we'd been expecting, questions designed to show how close Simon and I had been 10 years earlier, how in love we'd been. And just as I had for Mr. Henshaw, I told the truth. I had loved him. He had marked my life forever. She asked good questions, but not enough of them. There was so much more that she could have got out of me, so much more that would have shown the jury just who he was and what we were together. I'd been programmed long before him to receive saints and martyrs, and he had them all for me, Billie Holiday and Abe Meeropol and the others. She should have asked me about Abe Meeropol. I remembered it all. He wrote songs under the name Lewis Allen, the name under which he is credited as the author of Strange Fruit. He adopted the Rosenberg kids after their parents were electrocuted. You had to really love Abe Meeropol. My mind wandered. It roamed. I wanted to sleep until, all of a sudden, she brought me back with her best question yet. Mrs. Garrity, she began, I put it to you that you were in fact in an illicit relationship with Simon Haywood on the day in question. Other than my son, there was only one person on earth who claimed to love me above everyone else, and he was unwell, and I was being asked to convict him. I looked over at him now. Mrs. Garrity, do you understand what I am putting to you? Your Honour, do I have to answer that question? Yes, Mrs. Garrity, you do have to answer. Mrs. Garrity? The judge was asking me to grade all the major decisions of my adult life. He seemed to be saying that I, a victim, had to confess my mistakes, the big ones, to the world in a crowded courtroom and let the consequences fall where they may. Mrs. Garrity, he persisted, are you thinking about your answer, or are you indeed refusing to answer? I never did get used to being called by Joe's mother's name. The judge seemed to be getting angry. Mrs. Garrity, he asked again. And thus concludes part 6, and tomorrow we shall be back with part 7, which I believe is the last part of this book. So it shall be stimulating and interesting, no doubt. And I'm going to rush my birdie boys outside now. It's a gorgeous day. Let's live in happiness and joy and delight and bliss in our sacred space garden here at Titania's Realm. The bloody turkey's eaten all the food, but I knew he would when I let him have it. So there is that, people of Earth. And it's been a very dark trip down memory lane, but also there was some beautiful reminders of us old folks and what becomes of us, and all we can do is line up for a little kiss from a young girl who, even in all her congealed darkness as a survivor of CSA and looking for safety and community and tribe and belonging, could not deny the old people their little kiss of sweetness and innocence and joy and delight under Holy Shabbat. It is what it is, people of Earth. Perhaps I should never have left Wellington, New Zealand, but I left because of those dreadful people, you know, the Cohen family and their greed and corruption and viciousness. And I left because of my own family of origin being vicious back then, not realising that in following my mother here that there would only be more and more cascades of ever-increasing geyser-type viciousness. C'est la vie, babies. I've survived and I've learnt new skills and I've honoured the memory of beautiful pussycats. Doesn't actually smell. But I'll have to put it on a skein and wash it anyway. And I've got 4 skeins drying in the laundry, so I don't have a contraption to roll them into balls, so I'm not sure. I'll have to do it over a piece of cardboard or something. Try and roll them into a ball. And yes, enjoy your beautiful day, people of Earth. Remember, every day counts. And be with the ones who love you truly and honouringly and are proud and happy to have you on their arm and proud and happy to be with you and count you as a friend or a lover or a partner and care for you and be with you, proud and happy and joyous. Bye for now, people of Earth.